And welcome back to Blueshirts Buzz, where we talk everything New York Rangers. I'm your host, Matt Piscazzi, with my co-host, John Horton. Definitely check out our Twitter at BlueBuzz26, and we have a ton of stuff to go over today, so we'll hop right into it. Of course, before we get into all of those wonderful things, I do have to ask, how are you doing, good sir?
Well, it is the time for festivities coming up soon with Christmas. It is a time to be
Absolutely.
jolly, but my voice is a little raspy right now. I do apologize. I got a little bit of a head cold, so
Mm.
that's not really helping me be jolly. Neither is this Rangers team. Also,
Yeah,
not making me feel jolly.
nice
So
segue. I like that a little bit there.
yeah, I figured you as well. They have dropped 7 of their last 10. I will repeat
Yeah,
that. They have lost
yeah,
7 games of their last 10 games, all
yeah.
to most of them to quote unquote non-playoff teams, such as the Chicago Blackhawks, one of the worst, if not the worst, teams in the entire league.
Yeah,
With
that
your
one
freshly
hurts.
signed franchise goalie, you can't even score more than 1 goal and you lose 2-1. Um, Awesome. Yeah, and your captain booted over to the West Coast, which we'll all get into. But how are you doing? How are you feeling?
Funnily enough, I literally working the nights or whatever, so I slept all day today, whatever. Woke up and also have a little bit of like the throat, head cold kind of stuff going on. It's just that time of the year, right? So we're gonna sound a little raspy on this one, I guess. But other than that, things are going good, except for Rangerstown. A lot of stuff to get into on this one, so I'll just start rolling us real quick here. Of course, neither of us got any first scorers right in the Penguins game. You had Fox, I had Mika, and I think we were both terribly far off. I just had it up. Where did I put it? Was it Panarin in that game that scored first? Yeah, it was Panarin
Yeah.
scored first in that game. The game against the Kraken, it was Riley Smith who was going to get that. And then the game against the Blackhawks, our sole goal was scored by Will Cooley, which of course neither of us had. You would have had it if that was the Kraken game.
Yes. One off.
And
One
he's been
off.
playing solid, so at least there's that to be happy about. But yeah, so the current scoreline, first time score results, you are winning 2-1 still. So real impressive stuff by us. Now it's hard to predict. I mean, it's not like you're like playing basing a bet on like if Kelsey's going to score a touchdown or something. Hockey's totally different. You never know who's going to score on any given night and when and why and how. But
Yeah.
whatever.
But it is fun. It sucks we didn't really move the needle, but neither did this team. So I think that kind of reflects
Right?
that.
We should blame them for not scoring enough.
Yes. I agree with that completely.
But I think we'll get right into this Trouba trade here, which is the talk of the town. And I think we'll get our thoughts out and then kind of move on. We had talked ad nauseum about this, and just so I think it's like a relief for me more than anything that this saga is over. It's also highway
Absolutely.
robbery in the fact that we were able to get rid of his whole contract.
Whole
So the
contract.
deal itself, listen, we're getting Urho Vakananen. Who cares? Guy's
Yeah.
a seventh, eighth defenseman at best. He actually was like a sixth, seventh defenseman for the Ducks, and then they had like prospects and younger guys who came up who were just much better.
Yeah.
I think he had something. I mean, it's not like his stats or anything to write home about. Like
No,
he's a
his
guy
his
where like,
stats are
I
bad.
mean, listen, if he's touching the ice, half our D core's injured, and we're just packing it in. So not a
Yeah.
huge thing. And like the fourth round pick is de minimis. The big thing is we got Truba's contract off the books, and we immediately used that cap for the coming years in the extension for Igor, which we'll get into in a little bit as well. So just real quick, I'm happy that we finally have that kind of door closed. Truba has been an eyesore. Truba has been just hard to watch. I mean, this defense as a whole this year has not been great, but just after the way he played in the playoffs last year, after the way he played last year, after the way he played the year before, I mean, always playing through these injuries and doing this and doing that. And you can appreciate the leadership all you want, but when you look like an eyesore on the ice and you're not contributing to the team, and also, you're like the whole thing that came up with his family, like trying to prioritize like staying in New York
Mhm.
for his wife as opposed to the team, and then it creates a lift in the locker room. It's like I'm glad he's out. I'm glad he's out. And with the Igor contract as well, hopefully that is a curtain, lifted over this locker room. That's a weight off the shoulders of these guys, and we can start performing a little bit. But yeah, just to kind of put a bow on that one. Because again, I don't think, I'm not going to go over it a ton here. Glad he's gone. Glad we don't have to deal with him anymore. I will miss the toughness. I mean, I will miss him as well, just as a person. Like I do like him and what he brought to the team. Like he was a very fun story when we got him originally, and he did play pretty well for us for a few years there. It's not like we didn't get anything good out of him. I just think that he was a victim of just a very, very over kind of drawn contract there. I mean, if the guy was at like a 5 or 6 mil, or like a 6.5 mil even, like maybe we're not even having this conversation,
Yeah.
and we're not all, oh my God, get him out of here. But not the case, of course. And now he's in Anaheim. So, good luck. Hope he has a good end of his career here. I don't
I
wish
think
anything bad upon the guy, but I'm just glad that this saga's over. We don't have to deal
yeah.
with his cap anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah. His cap or his crap. We don't have to deal with either of those, which I
Yeah.
think is
And crap's
that
been
should be
rampant too. So
yeah, that should be like a news article. Yeah, he finished his first game as a Duck as a -1, by the way, and his plus minus. Just want to throw that out
super
there.
surprised, right?
Yeah. Oh, and he led in hits. Well, congratulations. And the
It's
Ducks lost that game.
the Truba
So
special right there.
yeah. So yeah, no, I mean, as anybody who has listened to this show or coming in first time, I have never been a fan of Jacob Trouba, mainly because of his albatross contract. Like again, you can't blame a player as much as I would like to. You can't blame a player for walking into an organization and saying, "I want this money," and the GM gives it to him. You blame the GM, right? The GM's the one who does it. So I blame Jeff Gordon. I hate Jeff Gordon. I think his draft picks have been bad. I think his signings have been bad. His trades have been bad, and he was fired in the whole debacle with the Tom Wilson stuff. And there's reasons for that. Um, anyway, though, but yeah, Trouba, he was a pretty strong candidate to start off his career in the Rangers of 5-6 years he played for us. He got the captaincy, which I wasn't a huge fan of at the time, but I'm like, hey, I'm not a player. Like,
Mm,
I don't know how he leads. And we saw some decent leadership strategies from him in the past that has led this team to where they were. But unfortunately, over the last 2 years specifically, and end of last year, especially in the playoffs, how horrible he was and actually
yeah,
cost us moments of victory in the game. His price tag did not warrant keeping him on this team.
yeah,
And there was a lot of drama with him. It was pretty much confirmed that. So, like, a lot of people have talked about, which I agree with. It would have been so nice to get this done in the offseason, have all that cap space, make the trades, get what needs to be done. It's nice that it's done now, right? Not going to complain that it took them this long, but it would have been nice if they were able to pull the trigger on getting him traded over the summer so we could avoid this mess that we find ourselves in now with the team spiraling. But it was pretty much confirmed that through interviews with him that when his no move turned into a 15-team modified no trade list, he did wait to the literal last minute to submit that list. He did the Rangers no
yeah,
favors in submitting it early, which again, that's his right as a player. Do I agree with it? No, because I'm a fan of the organization, not the player. But
yeah.
it's his right. He can do that. So he did that, hurt some trade possibilities. There was the rumor that he said he wouldn't report. Not sure if that was true. Probably not. But what was true was he did wait to the last minute to submit that no team
Apparently,
trust.
Detroit also had pulled at the end. Like I
Yes.
saw somewhere, yeah, that it wasn't as
Yeah.
much him, which is I think what we had thought. Like
Yes.
I think as a whole, the fans had kind of thought it was on his end, where it seems more it was on Detroit's end, which like I understand. I mean, it's who would really want to take him, especially if you're Detroit. Like they're in a much different spot than the Ducks. Like I understand the Ducks making this move because they have a ton of cap. They got young guys there who maybe could use the leadership, use a guy like that in the locker room. They're not going to be this team that's overly competitive, and they're still in this kind of cycle of rebuilding, growing. They have some good young players there, some good potential guys, right? So it's a good move for them because they can afford him, and
Yep.
in a few years when he's off the books, they can kind of make a splash, and maybe that's when this team is ready. Like that team in particular is ready to maybe make some bigger moves and try and push for the playoffs and things. So like, but the Red Wings, I mean, they're a team that's like right in the mix. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously it didn't really turn out that way for them, just the way that the Atlantic looks right now. But that's neither here nor there. They are a team that at that time were looking like they could push for the playoffs this year, and certainly they still can. I mean, the Atlantic, they're only 4 points back from a
Yeah.
wild card spot in the East, so it's really not like they're like the Sens, or anything like that
Yeah.
last year, where they were just like right out of the picture right away or anything like that. So I understand them not making that move, but yeah, just
No, I do too.
glad he's out of here though. I mean,
No,
that's
me too.
the
Like
end of the
I, I,
day.
I was doing backflips when he got traded, and then he got interviews where Chris Drury, like he confirmed that Chris Drury did come to him and say, "Hey, we have a trade lined up.
Mhm.
We have some potential teams. If you don't accept one of the ones we are going to be presenting to you, then we're going to put you on waivers."
Just
And for
savage.
which is very savage, which is what he did to Barclay Goodrow. And for anyone
Yeah.
again who doesn't know what waivers is, basically when you put a player on waivers, um, the team with the single worst record in the league at the time has dibs on picking up that player in their contract. And if they don't want it, then it's the 31st team. And if they don't want it, then it's the 30th team, and so on and so forth. So if Trouba didn't agree to a trade where maybe it'd be a beneficial place, not that he really went anywhere beneficial, but like, if he continued to play hardball, he could have been picked up by the Sharks or the Blackhawks or, a real bottom dwelling team right now. But he's still getting paid $14 million over the next 2 years, so I'm sure he'll be fine.
True. I mean, it's funny because he ended up with one of the worst teams in the league anyway.
Yeah.
But like that's where
Yeah, he did.
it's at least he knows, or he knew. It's like where you're going. I think
Yes.
that's a big difference.
Yes, and it was I don't know why someone reported too. They reported that like Mika Zibanejad didn't waive his no move clause. I don't think Drury came to him about that or anything, but like
Yeah, I didn't think so
some
either. Especially
reporter
because we were
was
talking more about trading Kreider than anything. I mean, I didn't
yeah,
think
because
that
he
was
has a no trade, whereas Mika has a no move, and that's a whole thing. But yeah, chapter is closed on Trouba, and we can look
book.
forward. Thank God.
And that's not a book closing, but that was a terrible visualization. But it's done. I
It is.
think, and I think before we get into what we did with that cap space, because obviously, not the cap space we have for the rest of the year here, and that'll be another conversation for towards the end of the episode as well. But definitely other things to get into here. But before we get into those things, I think we'll get a lovely word from our sponsors in here.
Yes, starting with one of our favorite sponsors, DraftKings Sportsbook. The 24-25 NHL season still has that new car smell, and the action is heating up at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. It's super easy for first-timers to get started at DraftKings Sportsbook. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. And if you're new to DraftKings, new customers can bet just $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. So going today, if you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN, that's code THPN. For new customers, you can get $150 in bonus bets if your bets win when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings through the THPN network using code THPN. The crown is yours. Thank you very much.
And there's nothing quite like the experience of a live NHL game. The chill of the ice, the sound of a big hit or a slap shot. This season, I can't wait to get to as many games as possible, and with Game Time, it'll be easier than ever. Game Time has tickets for all sorts of live sporting and music events, not just the NHL. And with Game Time picks, you can get the best deal in the shortest time. Right now, there are tons of deals on Game Times for you, your family, and your friends to enjoy. You can download the app and buy tickets right from your phone. Game Time has great features like panoramic seat views to make sure you love the seats before you buy them, the Game Time lowest price guarantee, or the ticket coverage that provides the most flexible customer service policy in the industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code THPN for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it? It's game time, baby. And I didn't mess up my favorite line of that ad this week.
Good. Me too. That's my favorite one. But
Absolutely.
yeah,
And thank you to
so
our sponsors in the network as well. Always
mhm.
always happy to have the opportunity to get these ads out to you guys and be a part of the lovely hockey podcast network. But yeah, like I said before segueing into those, we use that cap space. Obviously we have some rest leaving for the rest of the year. We'll get into that towards the end of the episode. But for the foreseeable future, all of that available cap space will be going towards Igor's 8-year, 11.5 AAV contract with a full no move clause.
Boo.
Yeah,
Boo.
let you
So
start the ball on this one. I know how you feel about that no move clause, but
yeah. Yeah, the
yeah,
boos are
finally
for
got the
that.
deal done though. So
Yes, no, the boos are for that. I am very happy that Igor has been signed. Say what you will, every single year with inflation and the cap going up, players are going to get paid more than you think they should be. That's how it's always going to be.
absolutely.
Igor is a cornerstone of this organization. He was paid that way by the front office for a reason. 8 years, 11.5 million, of course. He was also given 85 million in sign-in bonuses, which is crazy. And he got a full no move clause. So that part I'm not too happy with, because for anyone again who doesn't know what a no move clause is, it doesn't just mean you can't be traded. It also means you can't be put on waivers. So the Trouba situation right now, where Drury used that as a threat, as Trouba called it, which I guess it is, You can't use that for someone like Igor and Mika who have full no move clauses because it's in the name. Can't move them. Yeah, I'm not gonna get into the big whole thing with that. I think they're dumb. I think no trade, that's fine, but no move is stupid in my opinion. But yeah, I'm excited that he's here. He's a reason we're a contender for a while. Hopefully, he can keep it up. I know he's been playing a couple rough stretches before signing this contract, but him and his wife just welcomed their second child, so that was exciting to see. Maybe that had something to do with it as well, and maybe his head was somewhere else, especially that in the contract. His first game back on his new contract, he did play well despite losing. Not his fault. I'll get into that as well, but yeah, excited. I'm 99% excited. It's just that 1% that 6 years from now, he's just draining the team and playing horrible, or 6 years from now, he's still top of the league. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that we got it done at the value we got it done there, because like if you compare that number to just, I mean, like go right to like Panarin's the first one I think of, just because he's making a similar number. Off the top of my head, I just want to make sure I get that number. Yeah, 11.64, which is right there, and he had that contract for Panarin actually amounts to significantly more than the contract we just signed Igor with, considering where the cap is going and where inflation is going and everything like that. So I think the number is totally fair. I think that it could have been higher if he hedged his bets, right? Like he said to himself, I'm going to go out here, I'm going to ball, I'm going to play like Vezina goalie, and I'm going to earn myself, 12 mil, maybe even more, whatever. Well, he didn't. And at the end of the day, I think that this contract is fair for both sides. And I'm not overly tickled by the no move clause. I mean, it's not the best thing in the world, but at the end of the day, if we're signing him to this huge contract, we're committed to this guy because we believe in him. I mean, he's 28, right? Yeah, 28. So this carries him up to 35, 36, which is not ancient, right? I mean, it's not prime age for a goalie, but you can see veteran goalies perform at a high level at that age. This isn't like we're talking about like an Aaron Rodgers in the back who's going to get like hit every play because he can't move. This is a goalie who's sitting there and is doing the same things, and yeah, it wears on your body and he may not be as flexible, but I'm not as worried about it. And also at the end of the day, if we get to year 6 or 7 and he's not performing, I'm sure there's some things that can be done and some approach to this where you basically say like, okay, yeah, we can't throw you on waivers, but I mean, look at what Drury's obviously, Drury's probably not going to be here in those years. You never know, but somebody could go to him and just say like, listen, we're kind of done with you here, man. Like either you're going to ride the bench and you can get paid your 11.5 mil, or you can work with us here, maybe waive something here, help us out. Like, I feel like there's always something that can be done when it comes to those clauses in the league. It's interesting that hockey's the only sport that you see this really happen as much with these no trade, no move clauses. But also then you look at Drury and the way that he approached Goodrow and now Trouba, and again, obviously no trade is different than no move, but still I think that there could be things done there. So I'm not overly worried by the no move, especially because I don't think that we're going to be regretting this. And 6 years, 7 years from now, yeah, that words might come back to bite me, but I don't think we're going to be regretting this. I think that Igor is going to be very good for a very long time. And so at the end of the day, I think that between the Trouba trade and the contract here, a weight is hopefully lifted off the locker room. Hopefully these guys can start to kind of just go out there and play and just stop worrying about the off-ice stuff. Stop worrying about who's getting moved here, there, where, everywhere, right? Is Igor getting signed? Because, he was vocal about that. So I'm sure the locker room kind of knew how Igor felt. They knew how Trouba felt. Hearing Kreider's name, hearing Mika name, like just all these rumblings. I mean, this locker room has been an absolute mess. And so my hope is that these are really, really big steps in getting this locker room in a good spot. Obviously didn't amount to much in the scoreline, as we did
Yeah, they
lose
kind of
to the
did the
Kraken
opposite
and to the
of what,
Hawks. Yeah,
of what
which
you
is
said.
just kind of nuts, when especially the Hawks game. Like the Kraken, I understand, like this is a nuts game, and honestly, like
Yeah,
right
quick.
then,
Quick.
yeah.
He fell apart.
I mean, our
which sucked.
defense again, always, of course, didn't really do any favors for him. But that
Yeah.
Hawks loss is the one that really hurts for me. But you got to figure that with that weight off the locker room, hopefully these guys can go out there and perform and be a little bit better.
I mean, yeah, I agree with everything you say. I do.
It's the hope, though. I mean, it's just the hope at this point, like just fingers crossed, kind of knock on wood
Yeah.
thing, where these guys got to figure it out. I mean, you're professional hockey players. This team has way too much talent on this roster to fail in the way that we are currently. And if you look at the standings, we are failing. We are fourth in
Miserably.
Metro, 29 points, And then if you look at the wild card picture, it's more bleak because we're barely there. I mean,
Yeah.
we are
And you,
literally just above the Islanders at 29 points, right? A point
yeah.
below the Lightning at 30 points. But then the Flyers are at 28 points. Pens are at 28 points. Blue Jackets, 27 points. Senators at 26 points. So that is one, two, three, four, five teams within 3 points of us. And excuse me, yeah, I forgot about the Red Wings. It might be more. And the Sabres and the Canadians are right there too. Not that I think they're going to make a push, but the fact that we're 4 points away from the Canadians, should tell you enough. I
Yeah.
mean, that's just not a spot that we need to be in.
If
These guys need to figure it out.
Yeah, if we can't beat the Blackhawks, like what do you expect? I agree. I don't want to use this term. I'm gonna title it though because it's for the episode because it just is what it is at this point. They've given us
Mm,
enough sample size, but this team right now is pathetic. They're pathetic. They show zero effort. They show zero grit. They show zero determination,
mm,
and they come out flat. And there's key players, some of them who have contracts coming up that are playing some of the worst hockey I've ever seen. Keandre
yeah.
Miller is playing absolutely horrendously, which
I'd
really
say to
breaks my
cement him.
heart. Yeah, it was. I guess. Yeah, I mean, I would. He's a draft pick, homegrown talent. He showed a lot of really good flashes in the past couple seasons, but man, this season's bad, and
He still
it's
got
like
the potential though. That's so it's
he does,
and when
but
I
it's
look
like
at like this team as a whole though, I do have and maybe this is just me being like overly positive. I have a hard time blaming individual players when the whole organization is failing.
yeah,
Like obviously there are individual players who are a significant contributor to that more than others. Like if you look at
yes,
like Will Cooley, he's playing like out of his skin. I'm not going to blame Will Cooley. I'm not going to blame Kako. I'm not going to blame Heedle, right?
no,
Like I'm not going to blame the fourth line because those guys have actually been pretty solid. Like it's when you look at some of the top six and the defense in particular is really where we've been,
struggling,
terrible.
and
That's what it,
yeah, to your
yeah.
point, the key people I will blame that have started this
Hmm.
spiral shit show is definitely Miller, definitely Lindgren. Well, it can't
Hmm.
be Truba anymore. He definitely contributed to it,
I
but
mean,
he's
he was
gone.
like all the way up
Yeah,
there.
he was all
Yeah.
the way up there. And definitely Mika, which really sucks. He is a
Yeah. That's the
core.
saddest one.
It
Yeah.
is the saddest one. He's a core star player, on quotes I put there because he's not playing like it at all. And
Yeah.
um, he's in the leadership group. Chris Kreider's Chris Kreider. Trocheck's taking a step back, which really sucks. Not that
Yeah.
he's playing horrible, but he's just not what
No,
he
but
was
especially after
last
how
year.
good he was last year, and like he spoiled us. He played so
He did
well,
spoil us,
and then he
and
came out
that's
this year, and he's just been flat. I mean,
yes, and that's what
giving
leads
the
me
puck away left and right.
to the question I want to ask you, and the question
Absolutely.
I want to ask myself. And if you're Chris Drury and whatever it is, we're in December now, about to be the halfway point of December next week. Um, Team spiraling. You're not beating teams you should beat. You have your franchise goalie signed. You have your first overall pick and Alexi Lafreniere signed. Defense has holes in it.
Hmm.
The leadership room's kind of destroyed. Do you think last year was the peak? Do you think this core has shown us everything they can? And unfortunately, due to age, maybe with some players degrading,
Hmm.
leadership falling out, coaches, words falling on deaf ears,
Hmm.
or maybe some other factor that we can't even think of. I'll let
Yeah.
you go first, then I'll go mine. Do you think this roster has peaked and a retool is coming this offseason? Not a rebuild, retool, everybody. Or do you think, um, I don't know, they go on a crazy winning spree? It'd be ideal to avoid the wild card just because of how many like games you have to win to get to the Stanley Cup. It'd
Yeah,
be
and then
ideal to
also
secure a
you just
spot.
know home ice either and
No
everything
whole
like
ice,
that. Like you don't
yeah.
want to be in that spot. Yeah.
So yeah, so what do you so I guess to start, answer yes or no
Mhm.
for the peak, then answer should you retool in the offseason, and then like how you're feeling, all that stuff.
Honestly, after what they've shown us this year, yeah, I do think they peaked last year. It's not to say I'm not hopeful that we can turn the season around and make some kind of push, but when you just look at the way the other teams are playing around us and you look at the way this team has crumbled, and you look at, the way that some of our key guys performed towards the end of the playoffs when it mattered most, and then the way they started this year as well, it's alarming. It's incredibly alarming. And whether it's age, just the players themselves just not having what they need to, for me, it's like a motivation thing. I just don't see these core being able to motivate themselves. And then you watch them and it's like they go down, 2 goals or 3 goals or whatever. And there's nobody on the bench that's like, let's go, guys. It's like our coaches are trying. I think Lav is trying to get these guys. I think the associates are trying to be like, hey, do this, do that, get in their ear. But these guys are just like sitting there like, I want to go home. I'm so sad.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it's like,
Pretty
you're
much.
making millions of dollars. You're a professional sports player. You should be more motivated than anybody to go out there on the ice and kick ass every single game. So I'm quite frankly, I just don't think this core has it. It's really frustrating because there's so much talent there. But when it comes to the mental aspect, to the things that you have to do off the ice to succeed on the ice and kind of put all of those things together, the chemistry, the way that the coaches are getting involved, everything, this organization is shot right now. And I'm trying not to hit the panic button. I'd like to be the positive guy here, but that question it's very loaded, but it's very prevalent, and it's unfortunately, I do think that this core is kind of cooked. I think that last year was our best shot. I mean, we weren't shy about saying some of those things, especially kind of. I know you were a little bit more gung ho in that regard because I always do try and be a little bit more conservative and kind of positive and everything. But honestly, the way that this team has looked right now and the way that versus the way that we looked last year, we won the freaking President's Trophy last year and went to the Eastern Conference Finals. This year, we're barely even looking like we can make it past the first or second round to that Eastern Conference Finals. And then, oh, by the way, are we going to even be able to put up a fight against Florida?
Yeah.
Because that's a very realistic issue that we could have. Not that the Maple Leafs or the Bruins are playing overly convincing. I mean, but then you look at the way that the Caps have played, look at how the Devils have bounced back. The Hurricanes are always a threat. The Lightning are a team that make the playoffs and they always perform. So there are a lot of teams in the East that are playing a lot better than we are. And there are also some of those fringe teams as well who we haven't performed well against. Look at how we played against the Flyers. Who's to say that if we go into a matchup with the Flyers, we're not going to get beat up?
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately, I do think this core is kind of cooked. I don't want to pack it in for the season. Of course, I'm still going to continue to watch and be hopeful and hope that we can turn it around. We're what are we, not even halfway through the season here? I mean, we're still not even 30 games in here. So there's we still have 50 plus games to make it happen. But it's hard to see that light at the end of the tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
Given what we've seen so far. So unfortunately, I do think the score is cooked. I think that no matter what happens this year, there are going to be some significant changes in this offseason. I think that Drury's proven and made it very open to us as the public and the fans that he's not afraid to make those moves. And also he's not afraid to put these guys on blast and say, listen, we're looking to move you. We're looking to move you. He puts it right out there, which again kind of bit him in the butt this time with just the way that the guys responded. But if that's how you're going to respond, then get out of here. We don't need you.
Yeah,
we need
pretty
somebody
much.
who's going to hear that and say, oh no, I need to perform. I want to be here. If you want to be here, then prove it. And we have not seen that from these guys. These core guys, these defensemen, some of these guys that we rely on to make those plays when we need them have just been sitting there moping and just losing the puck and barely skating and getting outplayed, getting outskated, getting out hit, getting outshot, getting out positioned. I mean, it's up and down this lineup. We've seen guys making mistakes this year. Of course, there's been the few that have been really good, but it is hard to look at those diamonds in the rough and be hopeful, right? And so I do think that last year was our best shot. Not to say that we don't have a shot yet this year, but to kind of put a bow on it here, I do think the core is cooked, and I am really, really foreseeing a couple moves here in this offseason and maybe even 1 or 2 moves here towards the end of the season. Although I don't know that we'd make any more huge moves this year. I think if we do make more moves this year, they would be maybe some more mid-tier kind of guys to plug some holes and kind of give you maybe we get a mid, a mid 6 forward and a second pair defenseman or something like that. I don't think we're making a Brady Tkachuk move. Also, that whole tampering thing was nonsense, but
Absolutely.
just to a very long-winded, but that's where I'm at, unfortunately.
Yeah, I thought you would actually say something a little differently, but I agree with you. I do
You
agree.
thought I was going to be more positive?
Yeah, I thought you were going to say oh, maybe we got a few more games here and there, but it's almost like that bad kid in school where it's all right, one more chance, show me you're good.
Yep.
Did the bad thing
They just
again.
keep
One more
doing the
chance,
same
one more
thing. They
chance.
end up in detention every week.
Yeah, and it's the same headlines every time. Oh, this player was moved. Can the Rangers respond? Oh, this guy was healthy scratch. Can the Rangers respond? And they haven't. So Drury's tactic of putting the for sale sign, quote unquote, as they use, I don't completely disagree with it, but
Mhm.
unfortunately, it does seem like a lot of the players saw that and just threw their hands up like, "All right, well,
Yeah.
jury doesn't believe in us, like, we're done." And I agree with your point completely, like, if that's your response, then get out, like, we can't have you here. And the thing that does suck, players like Mika, they don't have to care because they have a full new he
Yeah.
has a full no move clause till his contract is done, making 8.5 million a year. He could drag his feet out there and get benched and not care. That's my argument with those type of contracts. But again, that's a talking point for another day. If you're Chris Drury, like it's December now, I think full panic button and give up on the season would be like if we're playing the exact same hockey we're playing now and getting the exact same results like beginning of February. I think at that point you're like,
Mhm.
all right, look, this team is deflated, the leadership group is imploded, players want to get out of here. Some young players are not playing up, and this is just I'm saying this is a hypothetical. Like if Miller
Mhm.
keeps playing bad and Lindgren, like these guys like that we wanted to re-sign, maybe we shouldn't now. And if I'm Chris Drury and I have all this crazy cap space, I don't know if I necessarily go nuts at the trade deadline. I might just be like,
Yeah.
all right, look, I'm just gonna save this money. I'm gonna plan months and months and months ahead of time. And as soon as the offseason hits, like this player's going, this player's going, I'm getting this guy, I'm trying to get this guy. Like I don't know if it's smart
We
to
could even sell a little bit at the deadline. I mean, it really
we
depends on
could
where we're
sell.
looking.
We
But if
could
we're
sell.
just going to keep dropping in these standings, then why are we going to take that caps? Like, because you're right, we do have a pretty solid chunk of cap space available for the rest of the season here. But what does that mean if we're not actually going to do anything with it? What we're
Yeah, if
going
we
to
keep losing
mortgage
games, why?
exactly? We're going to mortgage our
Yeah.
future because those trades. It's not like we're just going to be able to one for one, you for you. It's going to be with a draft pick, with a retention of some salary, with a
Mhm.
prospect, and that's when it's like, do we really want to mortgage our future for a failing roster? And so that's a really good point you bring up. Like, it really got to see where this team is at come like end of January, February. As we kind of get up to the trade deadline, really.
Yeah. Like if all things considered and hopefully fingers crossed and what we want, let's say they go, Chris Kreider steps up or somebody else, they go nuts, they go on this crazy winning streak, we get back within a good amount of like
Mhm.
wins. Then like, yeah, okay, Riley Smith, see you later, you're whatever. We're gonna upgrade you at the trade deadline. Lindgren, get out of here. We're gonna upgrade you,
Mhm.
blah blah blah. That's ideal. That's what I want. But if if not if that's not the case, then I trust so far Chris Drury hasn't given me anything to not trust him. I trust his judgment
Mhm.
where he's gonna be like, all right, I'm saving this. This season's over. This sucks. What are you gonna do? Like,
Yeah.
try and salvage what I can. I don't want to think about that now in December, but it's like you trade your captain and then you sign your franchise goalie, you win in Pittsburgh, which was awesome. You're like, okay,
Mhm.
cool. And then you just drop two stinkers. I mean, I know the Seattle game, the offense played really, really well, and the defense was pretty bad. But also, I love Jonathan Quick. He's been great. But if you look at the, goals scored above expected and like how he played in the replays, he had a pretty big stinker, Jonathan Quick. He
Yeah.
had a lot of he had a decent amount of softies. And it sucks. Like every goalie's entitled to it. It just sucked that it happened to be that game.
True.
Also,
I mean,
I
it's
under
it's so hard to blame. Like, it is so hard to be mad at the team for that loss, though, because
yeah,
anytime you put up 5 goals, like you should win.
you should win.
So
And
it's
that's how
it
the
really goes down to defense and goaltending on that one.
No, it
Like,
does.
yeah,
And that's how the team kinda responded in the locker room, and then just going into Chicago and getting blown out not blown out, I'd say blown out because that's what it felt like, a
yeah,
2-1 loss to one of the worst teams in the league, like, just they're exhausted, they felt like they had nothing left, like, what the hell? And in that Seattle game too, like, they pulled quick with 2 minutes left. I know there's, like, some new strategy or statistics and this and that where, like, pulling your goaltender sooner than later makes for a
yeah. I
better
mean, it pays
advantage,
off if
but,
you can
like,
control the puck.
my thought is, like, if I'm pulling the goalie at 2 minutes left, then I gotta be down by 2 goals because we were down 6-5, you pull with 2 minutes left. Also, they pulled him when we didn't even have possession. They pulled him when the Kraken just got possession in the neutral zone. Then they
It was
score
very
within,
poorly
like
timed. Yeah.
yeah, and then they score, like, 30 seconds later and the game's
Well, because
over.
we
So
turn
it's
over the
like
puck. Because I mean,
yeah,
when the thing is, like, when you're pulling your goal, like, listen, if you are on the ice in those last couple minutes, the goalie's getting pulled. Like, you can't
yeah,
just
that's
dump
true.
the puck. You have to try and possess that through the neutral zone. You have to try and get. I mean, obviously, like you want to dump it kind of when you get closer, so that goalie can get off. We get an extra shader on, get that pressure, keep that puck. But the guys just are not being able to string too many passes together. And so
Mhm.
when we're turning over the puck constantly and they're just throwing the puck to open ice, hoping that somebody's there, like that's a worst time to do it. And of course, they're just continuing to do that numerous times a game. And so
Yep.
it's like, yeah, of course we ended up getting an empty netter scored on us like basically right
Yeah.
away. You know what I mean? It's
And
just that's so indicative of just this team and the way they've functioned this season.
yes, and I'm glad that Laviolette's not being blamed for any of this.
Well, some fans are
But
starting to be like, when do we blame Lavi? Which I find to be just kind of
I
ridiculous.
I do
I
too. I
don't
will
like.
say,
I mean, what
yeah,
are you
no,
going
I
to say
agree.
about him? Like, his system doesn't work. They're not running his
They're not
system.
running it. They're not doing what he's saying. So it's like, and I agree, it's not Laviolette's fault, but it is alarming to see like, and it might be just with age with Mika, but like Mika whiffing shots, missing the net more often, defensemen like not getting their shots past defenders and like getting blocked. Like that's not Laviolette's fault, but like as a coach, like that sucks. Like you're just sitting there like,
Yeah, but then they go to
what the
practice
hell is
and
going
he
on?
starts he's been starting to put up like dummies and stuff and having the
Yeah,
guys practice getting shots on like through. Could you
like we're
imagine
in
being
high
like
school
exactly like you are a professional hockey player and you are in practicing rudimentary stuff like trying to get a shot to the net.
past
Like
a defenseman.
really?
And
That's
to me,
where
that's
we're at.
yeah, and to me, that's also like kind of a subliminal message from Laviolette to the players. Like, I can't trust you guys to go out and do the bare minimum. So now we're going back to the rudimentals here in practice. And
The
guess what?
rudimentals.
Uh, yeah, and
I know what you meant, but yeah.
yeah, you know what I meant. I as soon as that came out of my mouth, I was like, that sounds wrong. But
I think
I
you
just
put
the
rudimentary and
fundamentals.
fundamentals
I
right
did.
together.
I
It
made
was
a new
kind of
word for the Webster dictionary.
hey, you know, we have to come up with our own content here because the Rangers kind of suck. So
Yeah, they're not giving us anything fun to talk about. And it just sucks to come on
no,
here and be like, this sucks and this sucks and this is bad. It'd be so much nicer to come in here and
no,
say, this is
like
great and
it's
this is
and
cool.
like you said in the beginning, it's the holiday season. Like I want to be like cheery and
Wonderful Christmas
awesome,
time. Yeah.
and I'm not. And I'm tired. I'm sad. And we
And
suck. Like
you'll be at which we'll cover and get your
yes,
get up
absolutely.
here. So
If we
you'll
want
be
to.
at the Kings game as
Yeah, so
well.
we can roll into our first score predictions here, and I just
Yes.
man, I just hope. Oh my god, if this game goes poorly, I mean, I'm already gonna be some like beers in, but like it's gonna be stumbling out of there unhappily. But we'll
Yeah.
get to that here. So we'll do our.
I
Oh
say
man, we'll do our.
let's do up to Nashville. Like,
I was just gonna say maybe we
yeah.
just throw them just in case because just with the way the Rangers schedule is and how spread out these games are, it is hard to get 2 episodes a week. Like we were just talking about this off air. You know, when we play the Devils on a Monday, we don't play again until Friday. It's like we don't want to get on here at the end of the week and just recycle the same content. Like we want to have
Exactly.
games to talk about. So
Exactly.
we are a little bit spread out here with some of the episodes. Just kind of goes with the schedule of the Rangers. Which actually, I'm looking now. I mean, towards the end of the December into January, it gets a little bit more packed. So hopefully, we'll have some weeks where we're able to get a couple out to you guys. But with the first game here, we are playing the Sabres tomorrow night. We are recording this on Tuesday, so when you guys are listening, the day this comes out, we will be playing the Sabres at 7 o'clock. Check it out. Who do you think is scoring first?
I'm gonna play it safe and go with, which is funny to say. Will Cooley.
You know what's funny? When you said that, I started typing, and I started typing Panarin.
Oh, that's fair.
I was between Panarin and Cooley. Like when you said play it safe,
Yeah.
which segues me into putting Panarin down. And then the Kings game.
Man, that's tough. I'm gonna go for the love of God. Hopefully, it's first of the season, Fox. I keep saying Fox, and he just won't do it. So, or did he score? No, I don't think he has scored a goal.
I don't
So,
think he scored. Well, now I'm like, did he score? I have to find
let
out.
me look.
It's gonna
Yeah,
bother me.
me
I
too.
still don't think he scored this year.
I don't
No,
think so.
22 assists, not a goal.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I knew it. Let's see. I'm gonna go Kreids. I'm gonna be at that game. I would love for Kreider to get like a tip in or like a shorty or something or a breakaway. Like I just think that would really get the house rocking there. So yeah, I'm gonna go Kreids on that game. And then we have the Blues coming up the Sunday, the next day.
Man, I'm gonna go with. Oh, this is tough. This is tough. Panarin. Yeah.
Okay. Fair. Good solid show, honestly. And actually I was just looking back. I wanted to look back the last time we played them. Terrible game, lost 5-2. Cooley scored first. That's why, because I'm going with Cooley. I was gonna make a weird pick, but I'm gonna say my weird pick for the Preds game because the Preds suck. So yeah, I'm gonna go Cooley that game. It's actually funny. The first game, the Sabres game, you pick Cooley, I pick Panarin, and then in the Blues game, you pick Panarin, I pick Cooley. That should tell you what we think about this team that nobody else is producing.
Yeah, exactly.
In the Preds game, who do you think is scoring first?
Ooh, let's make it fun. I'm gonna go with Braden Schneider.
Dude, I was literally gonna go with Braden Schneider. How? How?
Were you actually?
Yes, because I was like this. First of all, I was like already thinking
Okay.
of like where I'm gonna throw my kind of like sleeper pick in. And yeah, Schneider was gonna be my pick. All right, I'll change it up
Hey,
here though. I mean, I can't.
great minds think alike.
Hey, you know what? Go with Zach Jones.
Oh,
Jack
nice.
Jones. I had to because I wanted to make a more off-brand pick here, a little bit of a
Yeah, that's
deeper
fair.
one. Because like there are those games where you just never know. I mean, for all we know, the first score in the Kings game could be Sam Carrick. You know, like
Yeah, I like the opener.
yeah, which is still so funny that you're like it's going to be Sam like as a joke, and then it ended up happening. So yeah, I mean, we got our first game, our first score picks in for the Sabres. You got Will Cooley, I got Panarin. For the Kings game, you got Foxy, I got Crides. For the Blues game, you have Panarin, I have Cooley, a little flip flop there. And on the Preds game, we both went with some fun picks, Schneider and Jones. So hopefully we hit some of those here. Score line's looking pretty tough with the 2-1 there. I gotta make a little bit of a comeback here, but it could be worse, right? We could, I could be losing like the Rangers are these days. But yeah, I mean, I guess just kind of give our closing thoughts here and roll us out of this one, unless you had anything else for us to cover before we head out of this one.
No, that sounds good. I think
I
my
feel like
throat's gonna give out. So
yeah, I know I've been chugging water this episode, but yeah, to kind of put a bow on this one, unfortunately I'm having trouble being positive. I don't like that. I like to be the positive guy. I do think this core is kind of cooked. I do think that we might have seen the best from this team, unfortunately, and then from this core. I would imagine that if we do make, and I will say though, if we do make moves during this season, like with the cap, I would really like us to be at least in a wild card spot. I mean, I don't want like if we're a couple points out of a wild card spot, I just feel that like we're in that kind of mediocrity where it's like, yeah, you could make a move, but you're really mortgaging your future at that point because you're not even really in that spot. And that's really hedging on the team and that guy you're bringing in and whatever you're giving up. And you're saying like, we're going to make a push. We're going to be it. But it's not, these guys don't have the motivation. It's not like that's going to pick up these guys and that's going to force them to be like, yeah, like we're going to start winning now. Like, no, they're going to be like, oh, they brought in somebody else because they couldn't rely on us to score. Like, I'm over it. So quite frankly, I do think that if we make more moves this season, that it's like I said earlier, they're going to be kind of like mid-tier moves. I hope that we don't give up too much. I really don't want to see us mortgage our future here. I just don't think it's worth it, especially considering that we're probably going to be retooling in the offseason anyway. So it's kind of my spiel on that. But to end on a positive, hopeful note, we're in the holiday season here. Hopefully these guys can get some holiday cheer and some positivity going in this locker room now that Trouba's out of there. The Igor contract is signed. Hopefully we can get some wins here. Thank you all for listening to us ramble about a very disappointing team thus far. Hopefully they can hear us and the coaches and the fans and the organization and the clamorings in the league, and they can respond. That's really all there is to it. There's a weight that's been lifted off the soccer room, and now it's up to these guys to perform. So thank you all for listening. Thank you for going through this journey with us. We will continue bringing you guys content, whether we are top of the league, bottom of the league, doesn't matter. We love this team. We'll ride or die with it no matter what. So thank you all for listening. Thank you all for another great episode here. And that is the last you'll hear me on this one.
Beautifully said and put. You can put it on a t-shirt, put it in a manifesto from Matt here. I do not like to be wrong, but I would very, very much like to be wrong about my prediction for this Rangers team. I do not want to go into a retool, but it does seem that would be the case. Let's hope these players can turn around. Let's hope we're all wrong in our predictions. Still going to be watching all the games, going to be cheering on this team, this franchise, no matter what. It is a little upsetting, but let's hope that they come out from this holiday season and really just realize this is it and they need to win it. And we will find out. So thank you again for listening. Be sure to check us out at Twitter, BlueBuzz26, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get podcasts. Tell your friends, family, loving about the show. Really appreciate it. Check us out every week. Have a great, safe, fun week, and we will catch you on the next one.